And on India Elects, we get you the first images of the Sri Lanka suicide bomber. The police are now piecing together bits and pieces of evidence. And on India Today, we get you the first image of the suicide bomber as he ambles into the church. He's walking into the St. Sebastian Church. Those are images of that man walking inside. We'll get it to you full frame in just about a moment. The first images of the suicide bomber as he walks on the street. He's been caught on camera. There you see, this is the image of the suicide bomber. The first image as he walks into the St. Sebastian Church. The Easter Mass was underway as this suspected Islamic State terrorist walks in. There you see, he talks to somebody who's with a child and just ambles into the church. The rucksack, according to Sri Lankan investigators, apparently had the explosives. It could well be C4 explosive. Prima facie, this is the information that is filtering out from Sri Lanka, and this is the moment. Then there is a massive blast that takes place. Unfortunately, so far 320 people have lost their lives in the multiple terror attacks. Let me now get you more details of this terror attack in Sri Lanka. Initial probe into this deadly serial suicide bombing, one of the worst in the world after 9/11. What we're now being told is that this could well have been a retaliation for the mosque attack in New Zealand, the Christchurch terror attack. This is the Islamic State that's put out images of the terrorists. They've put out 3 images so far. The Islamic State name of these terrorists: Abu Ubaida, Abu Mukhtar, Abu Khalil, Abu Hamza, Abu al-Bana, Abu Muhammad and Abu Abdullah. Now, Sri Lanka's Minister of State for Defence, Ruwan Vijayawardene, he said in an address to the parliament that prima facie, the initial findings, and these are very preliminary findings, they seem to indicate that the suicide bombing and all 7 were suicide attacks, were a revenge strike for the deadly shooting in the 2 mosques at Christchurch. We'll show you images of the Christchurch terror attack and the retaliatory terror strike. This is what investigators are telling India Today. Tawheed Jamaat is one of the terrorist organizations operating in Sri Lanka that's suspected to be involved in this terror strike. At the Christchurch terror attack in New Zealand, 50 people had lost their lives. That was a shooting in 2 mosques, and in retaliation, according to the Sri Lankan State Minister for Defence, 3 churches were targeted, hotels were targeted. The attempt was also made to target the airport, the Bandaranaike International Airport, where a 6-feet-long pipe bomb and improvised explosive device was recovered and diffused. 87 detonators were also found. Let's listen in to the Sri Lankan Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe.
There has also been a communique issued, a story coming in from Cairo, that the ISIS has claimed responsibility. All that we knew earlier was that there were foreign links and that this could not have been done just locally. There has been training given and a coordination which we are not seeing earlier.
India Today's Geeta Mohan now joins me for the latest on this story. She joins us live from Colombo. Geeta, what more can you tell us about investigations? We now know 40 people have been taken into custody. What more do we know of the 40 who've been detained for questioning? 40 people have been taken into custody. What more do we know of the 40 who've been detained for questioning?
Well, they have been detained for questioning with the links that they've had, not just with these Islamic groups that they are part of, but also now with details emerging of Islamic State having taken responsibility or claimed responsibility for the same. Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, just a while ago addressed the media over here, to the foreign journalists over here, and to a question that I asked with regards to prior intelligence from India with regards to jihadi threats. He did confirm that there was specific intelligence that India had shared with Sri Lanka, but there are a lot of questions that are being raised with regards to how the government really reacted to that intelligence. And even as that is happening, the country now is grappling with these people who've been suspects who've been taken and now are being questioned. There are two areas that are being explored. One is the fact that they're locals from the local Muslim radical groups, but they do have connections with the Islamic State. So how far and wide does it spread is something that they're exploring. More importantly, the Prime Minister confirmed that there are foreign links to these attacks, and what those foreign links are and how they're connected to the Islamic State is something that they're exploring. India has been raising the concerns of growing Islamic terror in Sri Lanka
just a moment.
well.
Geeta, stay with me for a moment. That's a very important point that Geeta Mohan makes. India had given specific intelligence inputs to Sri Lanka, and the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, said that in response to a question posed by Geeta Mohan of India Today. So on the 11th of April is what sources tell India Today, the police commissioner of Colombo had put out intelligence inputs that churches across Sri Lanka could be targeted around Easter. The name of Tawheed Jamaat had been taken. That Tawheed Jamaat is that terrorist organization or that radical Islamic organization that could be involved in this. India gave, Geeta, if I know correctly, even names of suspected terrorists. But before I come to that, let's listen in to Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
Just wanted to know whether if there was prior intelligence shared with the Sri Lankan government from Indian authorities with regards to jihadi terrorism.
There has always been sharing of intelligence between our two countries in regard to terrorism.
Was there specific intelligence on this?
There was specific intelligence on this.
Geeta, the intelligence that Indian agencies had provided was very specific. It named Tawheed Jamaat. If sources are to be believed, it also gave addresses of where these suspected terrorists could be and where the mastermind could be. Addresses of where these suspected terrorists could be and where the mastermind could be.
Well, India has been very keenly observing developments in Sri Lanka. The eastern part is where there are worries of growing radical Islamic behavior, and yes, there are certain intelligence inputs that were shared by the Indian authorities with Sri Lankan authorities. But the sad fact over here in Colombo, Gaurav, is that while the country is grappling with this entire security threat, they're also grappling with a huge political crisis over here with the fight that you see, or even the blame game that has started between the president and the prime minister. The prime minister today saying that the president does not involve him in the National Security Council decisions and meetings, and that's the reason why the entire problem of this increasing jihadi terrorism is lost in what the two leaders of this country should be doing, that is managing and trying to form a policy against jihadi terrorism. Instead, what we are seeing is blame game that continues here in Colombo.
Stay with me, Geeta Mohan. The Sri Lankan government, we are told, suspects a terrorist, a radical Islamic organization called Tawheed Jamaat. What is Tawheed Jamaat? Let me tell you something more about it. We've been attempting to piece together information. This is a little known organization. It is a hardline Wahhabi Islam preaching organization. So it wants Sharia to be imposed in Sri Lanka. The Tawheed Jamaat wants women in Parda across Sri Lanka. It's been linked both to Al-Qaeda and Lashkar-e-Taiba in the past. In 2018, one of the suspected bombers, Zahran Hashim. This is the information that we have. Zahran Hashim, he had visited Pakistan This is preliminary information. Remember, you heard Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who said most of these terrorists had travelled abroad. He did not specify how many had travelled to Pakistan, to the Middle East, and some to Iraq and Syria. So Hashim had met ISI officials in Pakistan, according to intelligence inputs that are coming in. Tawheed operative Mohammad Safran has also been on the radar of the intelligence agencies, and Safran was linked to the Tamil Nadu Tawheed Jamaat unit. This is information that is still being verified. Now, Tawheed Jamaat seeks the establishment of Islamic State across Sri Lanka. Geeta, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, post-2009, they thought peace had returned after the LTTE was eliminated. In the past 2 years, Geeta, there has been some communal tension between the Buddhists and the Tawheed Jamaat. But is Tawheed Jamaat so efficient that it could have carried out a terror attack of this magnitude and kept it a secret? 7 suicide bombers targeting multiple locations. Magnitude and kept it a secret. 7 suicide bombers targeting multiple locations.
Well, Gaurav, it is not absolutely local, and that's the reason why we see the well-coordinated plan and attack by the Tawheed Jamaat. And if it is the only organization that is involved right now, they're exploring as to who are the groups, which are the groups that could have been involved in this well-coordinated attack. But the reason why they succeeded in the manner in which they did is because of the foreign links involved. Now, the Prime Minister, intelligence agencies over here, officials we've been speaking to say that there are foreign links to this entire attack, and it was not really planned just by a homegrown radical Islamic group, that they have contacts, that they were trained abroad, that they sought training from abroad, that the material and explosive material that was brought in was not from Sri Lanka, it was also brought in, and there was a lot of effort that went in. But on the other side, if you see, intelligence agencies, officials, government functionaries and machineries did not really work on the intelligence that they were getting time and again from various quarters. Now they're seeking international assistance from various quarters, including the United States of America, in terms of intelligence sharing and who are the people who went out for training. But Gaurav, it was a well-coordinated, well-planned attack, and it took a while. We've seen growing communal tensions between the Muslims and the Buddhists here, but certainly to see the Christian community attacked in the manner in which they have been attacked did come as a rude shock, not just to the people, but also to the entire government machinery here in Colombo.
Keep tracking that story, Geeta Mohan. For the moment, many thanks for joining me. There are some similarities between the terror attack in Sri Lanka and the worst terror attack on Indian soil, 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. For example, the targeting of 5-star hotels. 3 5-star hotels were targeted in Sri Lanka. 2 5-star hotels were targeted during the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Multiple blasts in the city. 7 blasts in Sri Lanka. Similarly, multiple blasts and terrorists targeting places like the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus or Cafe Leopold, or that blast in a taxi in Ville Parle during 26/11. Both extremely well-coordinated terror attacks. 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, of course, masterminded by Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan with the help of Pakistan's ISI. In Sri Lanka, we still need to see which is the terrorist organization and what was the foreign support that that terrorist organization had, though Islamic State, the Daesh, has claimed responsibility for it. Islamic radical groups were involved in both these terror attacks. I now want to shift focus to our top political stories. Phase 3 of elections now over. Violence marred Phase 3 in West Bengal. A Congress worker was killed in Phase 3 in Murshidabad. Now, Abu Henna claimed that the Congress party candidate claimed that their worker died in clashes with the Trinamool Congress. There you see images of crude bombs being hurled in Murshidabad. Clashes also broke out between Trinamool Congress and Congress workers. Trinamool Congress workers allegedly attempted to capture a polling booth. That's the allegation leveled by the Congress party. 3 TMC workers were also injured in the clashes. In Murshidabad, at Rani Nagar, miscreants hurled crude bombs to terrorize voters. Soon after this incident, Central Armed Police Forces were deployed. They arrived in the area. They conducted patrolling to restore law and order. Tension also erupted in Malda after bombs were hurled in the area. Of course, there was still 73.09% voter turnout till 5 p.m. And let me now take you to Gujarat, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi cast his vote in Ahmedabad early today. He was accompanied by the BJP President Amit Shah, who's contesting from Gandhinagar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi obliged photographers as he played with Shah's granddaughter outside the polling booth. Now, before voting, he also met his mother, greeted her, touched her feet, and she gave him sweets. She also gave him a shawl and a coconut as her blessings, as a omen, a good omen. Gujarat goes to polls in the 3rd phase of these elections. The Prime Minister's mother also cast her ballot in Ahmedabad.
Prime Minister Modi coming to cast his vote in Ahmedabad. It was virtually a roadshow as the Prime Minister chose an open off-roader ride. Chants of Modi, Modi echoed as an ecstatic crowd waiting for the PM caught his glimpse. BJP Chief Amit Shah's family welcomed the Prime Minister, who lifted Shah's granddaughter in his arms in a playful mood. After casting his vote, the Prime Minister emerged to show his inked finger to the crowd, which had swollen by then. It was one more roadshow as Modi once again climbed onto the vehicle. Then stressing on the power of the ballot,
IED से भी अनेक गुना ज्यादा है. हम इस वोटर आईडी कार्ड का महत्व समझे, अधिकतम वोट करें.
Before his mega show during the vote, Prime Minister Modi had paid a visit to his aging mother and taken her blessings. Hiraben, in her late 90s, later cast her vote. But a big row erupted as the Congress saw red over Modi's roadshow outside the poll booth, claiming a big poll code violation.
He is a habitual, egregious, completely uncaring offender. He doesn't care for the Election Commission.
The NDA hit back in Wayanad with its candidate Tushar Vellapalli calling Rahul's tweet on Nyay a breach of poll code.
I have filed a complaint against Sri Rahul Gandhi stating that he has violated the code of conduct of this constituency. As you are aware that the election campaigns will be expired at 5 p.m. on 21 April. But he has tweeted right now on about 11:20.
The Congress has approached the poll panel for alleged violation by the Prime Minister for delivering what they call a political speech near a polling station on election day in Gujarat. Now, given the attack that the Election Commission has come under for constantly ignoring alleged violations of the Model Code of Conduct by the top brass of the Bharatiya Janata Party, including the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah, it remains to be seen if they find any merit in the Congress's charge. With camera person Vinod Kumar, Paulami Saha in Ahmedabad for India Today.
And let me now quickly take you to Uttar Pradesh. The focus once again on the opposition's charge that the electronic voting machines were not working and not working in the areas where the opposition claims they were stronger. Akhilesh Yadav went to the extent of claiming that EVMs were not working at all or depositing votes directly to the BJP. He demanded action by the Election Commission, claiming this was a sinister plot. Azam Khan's son, Abdullah Azam, claimed that 300 EVMs were not working in areas which were the stronghold of his father, Azam Khan. The Election Commission, of course, responded to all these allegations, dismissing them as baseless, and rumor mongering. The poll panel said that any EVM which may have had a technical glitch was immediately replaced by district authorities. 53.73% was the voter turnout till 5 p.m.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.